My best friend is in love with my boyfriend. Throwaway because my husband stalks Reddit. Also, I know he isn't cheating on me. He's at home more often than not. And I have full access to his electronics, as does he to mine. Note: some identifying details have been changed to protect my privacy, such as names. My husband and I have been together since we were young teenagers. We got married last year and have a 6-month-old daughter together. She is the light of both our lives, as we both came from broken homes and want a better life than we lived growing up. My best friend returned a few years later. We used to live in the same neighborhood and casually began to hang out. She lives with both her parents and siblings as she studies to get her bachelor's degree. At first, she didn't like my husband. He said that he was clingy and tried to insert himself into our friendship. WTF? She was civil to him because he was my romantic partner. For context, my husband is bipolar type 2, has autism, and has PTSD, which causes him to be a little socially awkward and miss certain social cues and taboos. I love him regardless of it all. Over the last few years, we have been hanging out a lot more. She comes over for a few drinks, and we go to movies and even visit local attractions together. We all have a good time, and my husband does try to make nights for just the two of us often too. However, last year, my husband and I found out we were expecting a child together in January. I was working and fell ill because at the time, I was working at a fast food place. I threw up and went to the doctor. Come to find out, I was 8.5 weeks pregnant. My life changed, and I became more busy getting myself ready for motherhood. My best friend saw me less and less, and we couldn't talk as much. My husband and I got married almost a month and a half after discovering we were going to become parents. That's when our dynamic changed. Recently, I applied to school, and I'm currently in college, trying to get a law degree so I can become a paralegal and go to law school. While attending college, I am also a stay-at-home mom. I've been super busy. One day, my husband gets a text, and it's from my best friend. She asks if they can talk, as she is upset. He took the phone call with me protesting, and a few minutes later said, "Sandra?" Fake name. "We need to go get Carla." Fake name. Her father is picking a fight with her. I got upset as we were watching a movie together, and I had just gotten the baby down for bed. We go to her house, which is about 20 minutes away, and she stays with us for a night. As I get our daughter back down to bed, Carla asks to cuddle with the two of us in our bed. I was hesitant. Due to a traumatic experience as a child, I have issues with claustrophobia. My husband gave me the go-ahead. We settle in for the night. Carla's dad apologized, and she headed back home. After she left, I confronted my husband. What he did was not only inappropriate, but also disrespectful to my boundaries. Ever since, when she has an issue with her dad, she calls my husband and vents. One day, while my in-laws were staying with us, my MIL overheard a conversation with my husband and Carla. She was concerned and asked me if I was okay with it. I said, "No, not really, but every time I bring it up, he gets defensive, saying that she needs help. She is going through a hard time, blah blah blah." My MIL's ex, my husband's father, cheated on her in the past. We are also extremely close, and she sees me as a daughter. She hates cheaters with a passion, and my husband, who I will refer to as James, was using the same excuses his father did. She asked to speak to him privately, then walked to our living room. They got into a heated match, and James apologized to me. He said he didn't know that it was hurting me and causing issues in our marriage. I asked him, how would he feel if I had asked him if another man could sleep in the bed with us? He kind of deflated and tried to say, "It's different, blah blah blah." His stepfather, Mark, fake name, spoke up and said, "It is the same. You're uncomfortable with it. So is she. Quit with the excuses." James respects Mark quite a lot, actually. Mark raised him since he was 8, and his own father was in and out of the picture. Once the dust settled, my husband truly apologized to me for his actions and said that he would do better. I kissed him, and that was that. However, I wouldn't be right here if that were the end of the issues. Lately, Carla has been calling him 3 to 8 times a day. She claims it's because she is bored and has no one else to talk to. I snap. I confront him about his nonchalant attitude towards the situation, his prompt responses to her calls, and how it's making me feel like a third wheel in our marriage. His response? She's just lonely. You're letting it get to you. That night, I slept in the living room. I'm starting to suspect that she is trying to monopolize his time. She calls him for over an hour each time he calls. They talk. She complains about her life, etc. It almost feels like she is his girlfriend or something. I am starting to find this relationship troubling. It's getting to the point of affecting my marriage. Where do I go from here? Feel free to share any advice. Edit. Thanks to everyone for the feedback. I'm going to have a talk with him, and his mom will be involved. If I don't, he won't listen to me. I'm tired of fighting him over this. I should have an update with a resolution in a couple days. I'm going to read everyone's responses more thoroughly. Thanks for the advice. Edit 2. My husband and I had a sit-down talk. His mother and stepfather weren't available. He promised me that he would explain everything in detail. I called Carla, and she said that we could talk Friday when she wasn't busy with school. She had something she needed to air out. I will have an update on Friday, hopefully. Edit 3. I woke up to a text from Carla this morning. She actually wants to talk to me tonight alone, as her schedule has changed. We are going to have a heart-to-heart. Hopefully, I will have some news. Edit 4. I need some time. I will post an update later on. My heart is hurting. My husband and I are getting a divorce. Thank you for understanding, everybody. Additional comment from OOP. I quit my job after I found out I was pregnant. I became a stay-at-home mom. Believe it or not, people can have inheritances that have no bearing on their job status. My STBX husband is a construction worker who makes good money. I only worked for my own satisfaction in being able to pay for stuff. His uncle was a financially sound man who had no children. That's why my ex got the house. We were looking at buying our own house soon before he died. Hey, I don't want to interrupt, but my goal is to reach 200 subscribers by the end of the month. Would you be able to help me? Let's move on though. Second update, 2 days later. This update is hard. Everything about this situation stinks, and I don't know if I will be okay for some time. Baby and I are currently staying with my friend Tanya. To start, James and I are getting a divorce. Carla is no longer a friend to me, or our mutuals. The betrayal is too deep for her to be friends with our group. As most of you assumed, James and Carla are indeed having an affair. It started about 3 months ago, and just turned physical 1 month ago. They were planning on just getting up and leaving after James served me divorce papers. To hide the fact, they used the ruse that he was helping her through emotional issues. I felt devastated. She wanted to clear the air before it got worse. That was when she dropped a huge bombshell. James was going to try to get me to terminate my rights to my child in order for Carla to adopt her. The reason? My borderline diagnosis a few years ago made me unfit to be a mother, and he was sure that the courts would agree. She then handed me 2 separate stacks of paperwork and left. I am contacting a lawyer as I write this. I suffered serious injuries. You guys were right. Carla was a snake, and she only told me this so she wouldn't feel guilty. However, I am not letting my soon-to-be ex-husband bully me into terminating my rights. I called him afterwards and got very heated about what was going on. James just sat there in silence. I was crying afterwards. I pleaded with him to tell me what I did wrong. For a little bit of backstory, I had a near-fatal complication with the delivery of our daughter, where I bled my entire labor. I had to have 2 blood transfusions and haven't fully recovered from them. I was not cleared for any extenuous activity for 3 months, including sexual activity. James was getting unsatisfied with all my doctor's appointments and not getting the sex that he wanted. I was hurting and ended up needing another procedure to remove some placenta that didn't naturally come out. I had to have my tubes tied because if I have another child, it will kill me next time. James wanted at least 2 more kids, and this put an end to his plans. I married a monster. We were together since we were 15. And this is how he repays me? I thought I knew him. He was acting so caring and nice to me. I am absolutely heartbroken. I'm not even sure if I am going to update this anymore, but if I do, it'll be after the divorce settles. Thanks for all your concern. I'm going to step back and take some time to adjust. There is no chance for a healthy co-parenting situation. I'm fighting for primary custody with supervised visits. Carla will not have any access to the baby, as I will ask the judge to make a clause preventing her from interacting with my daughter. Thanks for all the advice. Edit. I forgot to add that I contacted his mother and Mark this morning. They're furious that James is doing this to me. They are helping me pay for a lawyer because I'm a stay-at-home mom and college student. They have kicked James out, and he is now staying at our old house with Carla. He did give me the courtesy to get my stuff and didn't make a fuss about me taking what I wanted. He told me that he would keep in contact for divorce proceedings. Story 2. Ida for asking my wife to have an abortion. My wife and I, both in our mid-30s, have been happily married for 9 years. We don't have any kids, and we don't want any. We had the what-if talk before getting married. She told me she would want to have an abortion if she ever got pregnant. Today my wife told me she's 9 weeks pregnant. She's on the pill, but accidents happen. She said she wants to carry the baby to term and give it up for adoption. Naturally, I was surprised by the news and her change of mind. I asked her if she considered getting an abortion. She said she had, but she doesn't want to because she feels a bond with the fetus. She told me she has been researching adoption and learned that the local adoption agencies only accept birth mothers who are okay with having an open adoption. I told her I wasn't really comfortable with this and asked her if she would have an abortion. She started crying and spent the night at her sister's place. She won't answer my phone calls. I'm uncomfortable with this for a few reasons. I was adopted at birth, and my adoptive parents weren't the best. Not everyone who was adopted has the same experience, but I can't help but hold a negative view about it. A few years ago, I tried to find my biological parents to learn my medical history, but I couldn't. I was temporarily sore about it, but it is no longer a source of discomfort. My wife is aware of these points. I just don't want to pass on my genes, because they're essentially a mystery to me. I also don't like kids. My wife said she actually would prefer to keep the baby, but she knows I wouldn't want to. So she said having an open adoption sounded like a reasonable compromise. I understand why she thinks that, but I still don't want to have any biological children, regardless of how much or little I would be involved in raising them. Edit. My wife takes birth control for reasons other than contraception. If she ever wanted to stop taking it, I would support her 100%. I realize that I'm an idiot for not getting a vasectomy a long time ago, though. It honestly never occurred to me until now. I think because my wife has always been on birth control and said she would have an abortion. I now see that it was irresponsible of me to not get one regardless. I'm going to get snipped ASAP. During our conversation, she and I experienced emotions, but neither of us raised our voices. Here are the main takeaways. I apologized for putting her in this situation because she was an idiot and did not get a vasectomy earlier. I also apologized if she felt like I was pressuring her when I asked her to have an abortion. I didn't intend to pressure her, but I know words don't always convey our intentions. She said she felt pressured a little, but forgave me because she knew I was totally caught off guard. She apologized for having a change of heart regarding abortion. She said she was really surprised by her own feelings and hopes I don't feel like she tricked me. I don't. We mutually agreed that it would be good to spend one more night apart to really think. We've always had a strong marriage, and we're both committed to working through this, whatever that may look like. Update. My wife and I have been seeing a therapist together. We've also been seeing different therapists individually. I eventually started warming up to the idea of being a father. I began to realize just how shattered my wife would be if she gave up the baby. When she thought I couldn't hear, I would notice her quietly singing or talking to the unborn child. I think this is ultimately what swayed me. My wife is a kind, gentle, intelligent, generous, thoughtful, and wonderful woman. She would be a wonderful mother, and she deserves to be one. She deserves a supportive partner on her team. We started discussing parenting. During those tense, emotional, and heavy weeks, I only saw my wife express a bit of joy anytime we talked about keeping the baby. I looked into taking some parenting classes. We hadn't arrived at a firm decision to keep the baby at that point, but I would say that's where things were leaning. My wife miscarried 2 weeks ago. Needless to say, she's beyond heartbroken and beyond grieving. I'm a strange mix of distraught, disappointed, and relieved. Feeling any kind of relief at all makes me feel like a monster. I'm just downright confused and don't really know what to make of my conflicting emotions. I'm doing my best to be there for my wife amid my own confusing thoughts. Her sister spends a few nights a week at our place to offer support as well. I will say that I don't feel as strongly child-free as before. It's not impossible for me to see myself as a father, My vasectomy is scheduled for October 29th. I'm considering canceling the procedure. I don't want to add to my wife's grief by definitively blocking her chance of having a biological child with me. Story 3. I'm so screwed. My wife is a monster. I'm married to a monster. Before you ask, I'm a 37-year-old male. For the past 10 years, my wife and I have been married. It's been an okay 10 years, not the best, but we have 3 children together, 7 twins and 3-year-olds. And I have 2 from a previous marriage, 14 and 17. In the last 6 months, it's gotten so bad. She has a problem with controlling things, children, people, and me. If we do things that she doesn't like, she turns into a monster. She's angry at my son constantly. If he doesn't take his laundry upstairs, he gets his computer taken away for a week. He's not allowed to play on any devices like iPods or 3DS at night or during the school week. He can't even go on his computer during the school week. He has never done anything wrong to deserve this harsh punishment. My in-laws agree with me, but refuse to say anything to my wife because they don't want to hurt her feelings. Give me a fucking break. She's the worst decision I ever made, and now I can't get out. I can't get a lawyer because I don't have the money. I can't get a divorce because she won't agree to one. My inability to leave the house would indicate that I have no intention of being present for my children. I love my kids so much. With every fiber of my being, I love them. She treats them like garbage. When they do the slightest thing wrong, she screams at the top of her lungs. This is what I've recorded her doing. I presented it to someone I know who works at CPS, and she said there's nothing I can do. She's called my 14-year-old son names like fucking asshole and little prick. She's destroyed his computer. When I told her it was her who did it, she replied, "It was broken before I got to it, and you know it. You broke it when you ripped out all the cords." She is so far from reality. I can't stand it anymore. I don't know what to do. I called a lawyer, and they said I would have to pay $200 just to sit and have a meeting with the guy for an hour. Then I would have to put up a $5K minimum for retainers. I just don't have it. She, on the other hand, has tens of thousands of dollars in the bank from an inheritance. I never use it. I just keep using my money for everything. I'm going to shoot myself in the face. There is no other way out of this. Maybe if I shoot myself, CPS will have to come in and do something about the situation. I would rather my children remain in foster care for one more fucking day than be with her. Whenever I confront her with anything, she threatens to call the cops and tell them I hit her, so I'll go to jail. Or instead of retaliating against me, she goes for my son. She'll say things like, "Well, if you don't want me yelling at him, you better shut up." What do? I cannot take this anymore. I am married to a nightmare, and I can't do anything about it. I'm so fucking alone. I have no friends, no family, nothing. Just my miserable existence in this house, which I hate. Thanks for listening. Sorry if it's just one big ramble. I'm extremely upset, and I had to get this out of me. No one else will listen.